Okay, welcome to the May 2025 Finance Committee meeting. We've got here council members Morrissey, Chang, and I'm Mark Trenary. And we've got a long agenda this morning, so let's get started. First up is the Finance Department Director, Noah Crocker.
Great. Thank you, Councilmember Schneider. You can see my screen. We're going to touch on these pretty quickly. I sent out the monthly budget report earlier in the week, so I won't go through that, but we'll talk about the sales tax and REIT revenue first. Sales tax for the month of April were slightly down when we look at year over year, 3% less than April of 2024. Year to date, we're down roughly 1.8% compared to 2024. But we are positively 11.75% above our budget. So from a budget perspective, we're doing just fine, but we are observing a downtrend when we compare it to 2024 overall. When we look at REIT, we are actually have a different trend. We are actually 48% when we compare it to 2024 year to date. So that's fantastic. The month of April was 3.28% above April of 2024. And since we have positive actuals, we actually have a 100% above budget. So REIT is doing very well for us this year. And we are about 23% of our biennial budget received year to date. Any discussion on the sales tax or REIT?
I'd just like to say that it looks like we're going into a busier time of year. The summertime historically looks pretty strong, so looking forward to seeing how, if we continue the trend that we see this year, or if we start to bounce back on that with the summertime hitting us.
But also our historicals are, it'll be what it's going to be, because our historical, you can see the number grows on the historical also.
Well, and Noah, is April revenues from February actuals? Or is that April?
It lags 60 days.
That's what I thought. So when do we show 555,000 in sales tax in April? That is technically February's results, correct?
Yes, it's February sales. Okay. That's right.
So yeah, so that makes sense, right? I mean, we saw a huge dip in the market, and that's when our first bit of tariffs talk came around. So okay, thank you.
Yep. I did include here cash and investments fund balance. No comment other than we have healthy balances right now. So that's really positive. You can look at that a little bit more in the monthly budget report. So there's no concerns at this point. I'm just continuing to observe that we have healthy balances as we move forward. Again, I'm not going to go through the monthly budget report, so I'll skip ahead there. So then we're up to item 2B. Mr. Bond.
Yeah, good morning. We have provided in your packet the annual impact fee report, which covers both the city's park impact fees and transportation impact fees. And this is our 2024 year-end report on what money was received and what money was spent, as well as current balances. And we are required to, under law, we have to spend any impact fee money that's been received within 10 years of receiving those funds. And so this report is also how we track compliance with that mandate. So I think that the report is pretty straightforward. It shows what projects in transportation we spent funds on, what projects in parks we spent money on, and what our revenues, expenditures, and current balances were as of the end of the year. This is going to the full council as a discussion item on Tuesday night. We want to put it in the full council packet just to get it into the public record so that the public knows how we've been using these funds. I know we've had some public comments at previous meetings asking, how are we using our impact fee monies and is somebody keeping tabs on these funds? This is the mechanism that we use for doing that.
Hey,
So
Nick, wouldn't that be a presentation versus a discussion item? Because you're just presenting information.
I don't remember where it may have been under presentation. It's after business items on the agenda. So I think it's under discussion, but it's like a director report.
I think we'll need to move that because it's truly a presentation of data. It's not something you're looking for direction on. I don't believe.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's it's really just a report from the director more than anything. But
Yeah.
yeah. However you want to frame it on the agenda, you can coordinate with Janine to move it if you need to. So, any questions on the content of that report?
Yeah, I just had a quick question on, so we're just sticking with parks right now, correct?
Well, it's parks and transportation are in the report, so I think
They
parks
are.
and
That's why I didn't know if you were just asking for park stuff or parks and transportation. Because I guess my question kind of goes along both. And I'm not sure if it's for you, Director Bond, or you, Director Crocker. But so we got nearly $4 million now in the Park Impact Fee Fund. Does that work similarly to the transportation impact fees? Because if I recall right, we have to spend those dollars in those areas that we collect them, but does the parks work the same way?
It does. We have in the appendices to our Parks and Recreation and Open Space Plan, we have a list of projects and it indicates what the programmed funding is from impact fees on various projects. So we have to spend those funds on projects that are part of the project list, and it is a pretty comprehensive list. I believe that Director Crocker has we've sort of appropriated these funds already to a lot of the community event center and plaza project, and so we're saving this money in anticipation of needing it here in another year and a half, and we still need to collect more money in order to fully use the amount that was identified in our impact fee rate study on that project. So I think we're still $1 million or so short in what we actually need to complete the park impact fee share of those public plazas and the community event center building.
So I guess I think I'm going to more nuance my question. I think I was under the understanding that if we're collecting an impact fee, say in the McCormick area, that those
Doesn't
fees
work that
had to
way,
go
John.
to a project in that area.
No,
It just has to be on the list, correct?
Yes.
there's one list and there's one service area. You could the law does allow you to create multiple impact fee areas, and in that case you would have different fees depending on which area you're in and based on the project list within that area. But we have one service area and it's the entire city boundary. And so funds from McCormick come in, they can be spent downtown. Funds from downtown can come in and they can be spent in McCormick.
Okay, thank you. That answers my questions.
Any other questions on the report itself? Is there any? And so I did want to circle back on what Nick said. We are obligating those park impact fees and saving them up for the community event center. So there is 4 million there, but our intent is to use it for the community event center. Although we do have identified on this in the table itself how we have spent park impact fee money and developer credits as well. So you can see for 24, we did spend money on Splash Pad, Community Event Center, and the Orchard Plaza as we're kind of in those phases. But we are all complete with the Splash Pad now. So we have a park impact fee table that talks about the projects as well as the spending, fund balances, and then we have the similar table for the transportation section as well.
Since Noah brought up the splash pad, Dennis, is that thing going to be fired up and ready to go this weekend?
It's Monday. It's after Memorial Day is I'm sorry, Tuesday is when we fire it up.
Come on.
Can we try to make it happen today? It's on
It should
schedule.
happen this weekend.
You want me to get it?
Absolutely. What's wrong with you guys?
Because we always advertise it's after Memorial Day that it opens. That's what we do.
Come
I know
on.
it's supposed to be
It's going to
75
be warm
degrees.
on Sundays, so
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just
Oh my
like, tomorrow
goodness.
looks like the best day for it. So.
I'll fire up an email, see if I can make it happen.
How's that
Okay,
for
Nick,
peer pressure?
All right, so is any other communication on the impact fee report? Or questions?
No, but I appreciate Noah and Nick that you're saying that the fees are being appropriated for the community center. I think that's very transparent, but I don't see that listed on like page 21 where you say the park impact fees projects.
Well, that's not the project list. The project list is in
Okay.
the pros plan.
Okay,
This is just
okay.
the projects we've actually spent money on, or I think have issued credits on.
Okay, I
Yeah.
was mistaken because I saw a table that says park impact fee and I saw the 4 million balance, and then I saw the detailed history. So those are completely separate things.
Correct. There are about
Okay.
50 projects on the complete list, and so
Okay.
we're only listing in the report the ones that have activity right now.
Okay, that makes
Yep.
sense. Thank you.
And is this is a report you give annually? Or try to?
Yeah, correct. And I believe in response to the public comment we had a couple of city council meetings ago, I provided last year's report to you so that you could share that and let you know that the new report would be coming out soon.
Okay, if there's no further comments on the park impact fees or the impact fee report itself, let's move on to the Community Event Center amendment. Mr. Vaughn, this is you again.
Yeah, so this is another item that's in the city council packet for Tuesday night, and this will be a business item. And we have an amendment number 15 for our community event center contract. And if you go down to page 4 here, Noah, there's a breakdown towards the bottom of page 4 of the page 4 of the amendment. Is the amendment not in the packet?
The amendment's not in the packet.
Okay, well, you'll see it in your city council packet when that publishes today. There is we got a request for increase in fee, and part of the increase in fee is because we are expanding the scope of services, and we're basically funding construction documents for the overwater portion of the project, the building, and the Orchard Street Plaza. We're taking everything through construction documents now, which wasn't included in previous scopes. There's a handful of items that are detailed out in the document explaining what the additional work is. And then there's also, we did a time-only extension at the end of the year because our contract was set to expire. We did that on relatively short notice because the deadline snuck up on us, but RFM indicated that, hey, we're beyond the original time frame, and so they're asking for additional funds related to the 2.5-year extension that was granted to cover, salary increases and just their overall cost of doing business. And so the total contract amount, I'm trying to pull it up here, but with it not being in the packet, I'm struggling to find it. It's about 320,000 if I remember correctly. And again, that is in the packet for Tuesday, and I wanted to make sure that Finance Committee knew it was coming. We did also talk about it yesterday in our Land Use Committee meeting, and so the Land Use Committee members are aware as well.
Okay.
So it says 151,000 of that is for a fee increase. The other part is for the actual design work to get us that set of plans?
Yes, correct. And I've just found it. I'm going to share my screen here, Noah, if
Go ahead.
stop sharing. So let's see here. So it's $321,095. 151,000 of that and change is for the fee increase due to the schedule extension, and then 169,000 is additional services. And so those are documented out in the scope of work associated with division or the amendment number 15. And then I believe, Noah, in the financial or the fiscal impact section of the staff report, we're indicating that this will be paid for with our park impact fees because park impact fees are eligible for use on this project. We intend to use those both for design and construction, and so that's how we'll pay for this additional cost.
Yep.
Why are we, were there not funds from the PFD for that, or have we exhausted all design funds from them?
I think we've exhausted design funds, and the PFD is only paying for the design of the building. We were always doing the plaza and overwater piece on our and the shoreline restoration on our own. So we're on the hook for those costs.
Thank you.
That's
You are
that's
correct.
exactly correct. The also I want to make you aware, we're still not certain what we're going to do, what was going to be that co-working space. So we're not other than, you know, basic drywall and electrical to rough the space in. We're not, you know, we're not putting in floor covering. We're not putting in,
That's
you know,
the
because we don't know what we're going to use it for.
That's the second floor west part of the building you're
Yes,
talking?
it is.
Okay.
The the back corner. Um, Also, that's the level of finish the ground floor tenant space is going to have too, because we don't want to over design that because we don't know who's going to lease that from us at some point. And it could turn into a lease upstairs. It could be a very nice office space that we lease, but I'm still looking for that right um, thing that our community needs, and I haven't identified it yet.
So, one other thing, just in terms of future contract amendments, this will not be the last amendment. We're going through our cultural resources review with the feds right now on our permits for the overwater portion of the project. And they're wanting us to hire an interpretive specialist to help us develop signage content. We're going to do, I think, 4 kind of educational interpretive signs out along the waterfront. Plus, because the bank building that we're tearing down just turned 50. It now has historic value, and we're reusing some of the materials from that building in the new community event center. So they're asking us to do some interpretive signage or a plaque inside explaining what used to be on the site and how we've reused those materials. I don't expect that one to be an expensive item, but I do know that a contract amendment will come forward once we select an interpretive specialist to help us develop the content for the signs. So you can look forward to seeing that later this summer. And then there's probably 1 or 2 other minor amendments that we'll have, but this is supposed to take us through construction documents, so I wouldn't expect a whole lot more in terms of design cost.
What is an interpretive specialist? That's a new term I haven't heard
So
of or used.
they're not basically it combines graphic design with developing content and meeting with the tribe and kind of researching the history and actually developing what the sign is going to say. And so whether that includes like sketching out, if we wanted to do a sign that is pointing towards the Olympics that has a silhouette of the mountains, they're gonna lay that out. They're gonna do the graphic design for what information is provided. They'll write the narrative for the geologic history of our area. If it's for the tribes, we're actually required to consult with the tribes. So anything that talks about tribal use of the shoreline, they have to do outreach with the tribes and agree on what that content is going to say. And so this person basically has expertise in developing this sort of messaging. And I'm thinking it's probably like a $10,000 task to design 5 signs and do all the graphics and layout and text, but we'll have to wait and see what our quote comes in at.
And who's requiring this?
It is the federal government through we have to get a permit because we're working below the ordinary high water mark as part of removing the seawall. And so they require a cultural resources review, and then they bring in archaeologists and other people to talk about, what value is being destroyed and how do we mitigate that. And so they're asking us, we're already doing 3 signs as part of the grant that we received from the RCO. And so they're asking for a 4th sign that talks about us being part of a national marine heritage area. And then they wanted to make sure that we're actually consulting with the tribe as part of developing signs that talk about the tribal use of the land. And they want the tribe to have the right to approve or deny that language rather than us writing it and them not being happy with what the sign actually says.
And that's coming out of their grant funding?
No, this is just a requirement of our permit. So it's something being imposed on us through permitting.
I'll share with you too. We've been in conflict with fisheries over our seawall, and we're removing that concrete. We want to remove the concrete seawall that is up near the bank. It's not in good condition, and fisheries has been difficult to deal with. And fortunately, a couple weeks ago, we had a meeting, and actually got to talk to somebody. And so they're treating it as new construction of a seawall, which is permitted and has different mitigation requirements than doing a replacement. And we're moving the shoreline back. We're doing shoreline restoration. And they're not seeing it the way we're seeing it. And so when I'm in my trip to DC, I happen to have an opportunity to bring this up. And the response, so you got a meeting with fisheries? And I said, yeah. And well, that's about all we could do for you. And I was pretty much good luck is what they don't, our Congress and senators don't have any authority over these federal agencies.
Well, I mean, they fund them, so they have authority to
Right.
defund them.
It's
Yeah,
it's not.
I would
not
just
the- not
disagree
the
with that
response I
statement.
got.
Yeah,
Yeah, they kind of
think I
shrugged
hear
their
you.
shoulders and said, well, at least you got the meeting. I could have helped. I can help with that if you weren't getting anybody to respond to you, but you got to work through the process with them.
Well,
Yeah.
just as a heads up, I don't speak for all the council, but I know some of them, and I think you're gonna have a hard time getting that amendment past some folks on this council.
Yeah.
I would agree.
Okay,
What amendment are you
I mean,
referring
myself,
to?
It's a condition of a federal permit, and so we don't
Yeah.
have a choice. Either don't build the project or
Yeah.
hire a interpretive specialist to help design the signs.
I think at some point somebody's got to have a stand, and $10,000 for a sign doesn't sound like great use of taxpayer dollars. So
I don't disagree with you, but it's a condition of our permit. And
I hear that. I think I'm here saying I'm going to start talking about having those conversations more outwardly, so that folks know, and there maybe can be some pressure to change that.
Good luck.
Got to start somewhere.
that's pretty much what the response I got in DC was good luck.
And Mr. Mayor, I also want to say that relationship affects so many of our other projects too. If we go backwards with this, it's going to impact those relationships.
Yeah. And those staffers, they're just enforcing the regulations that they have. It's not anything personal to them at all. The regulations need to change in the requirements, and that hasn't happened yet. There's talk of all kinds of things, but these are the rules that are being enforced, and it's part of our permit. It sucks.
And
It does.
although I don't agree.
I'm just trying to get ahead of it to say that this council member's that's a hill he's probably willing to die on.
Yeah.
So I'll remind you that we also, so when you asked if it was grant funded, 3 of the signs are grant funded in terms of the construction of the sign, but somebody actually has to design the sign. So we applied for a grant, and part of the criteria for getting a grant for the construction of the plaza, which we got $500,000, is interpretive and educational opportunities. And so we proposed 3 signs from the get-go. It's just that who makes the content is what the federal agency is imposing a requirement on. We were always going to do 3 signs, and that was a condition of the grant funding. This is just who's going to design it. And ultimately, it's either going to be our architect, or it's going to be city staff, or we're going to hire a sign specialist to design content. And so there was always going to be some cost associated with this. It's just that we are hiring somebody with a specific skill set to do the work that maybe would have been different than just having our landscape architect come up with some sign concepts and content, and doing it in a more informal way.
And although I don't agree with the sign requirement, I don't think that's a hill we want to die on. I'm a little bit more concerned with them treating the shoreline restoration as a new project rather than restoring that shoreline back to its natural position.
Yeah,
That's-
we're still not going to the natural position, but I can assure you, if we can't get them to see it, we likely would leave this horrible seawall in place, and then it'll fail, and then it'll be an emergency repair and done differently. But it's
Yeah,
we want to do it right, and we're trying to do the right thing. we're just being, kind of given the runaround in this process, and which is unfortunate.
It doesn't make a lot of sense to any of us and or the public to look at a concrete barrier and say that's a better use of that seawall, or that seawall is in a better position than a more natural state. Makes no sense. But then again, we are dealing somewhat with some restrictions. So I wish you all success on that.
All right, with that, I'd like to move on. If that's okay with everybody? So again, that topic will come up on Tuesday's meeting. And again, so we have a lot of items on this agenda because they're coming forward before the full council on Tuesday. So I want to make sure that you guys were aware and prepared. Mr. Ryan, would you like to talk about the library repairs?
Yes, thank you, Director Crocker. So, as everybody knows, we own the building that the library is housed in. As part of that agreement, we are responsible for all the capital facility maintenance and repair. We know that this facility is going to go away and it's going to be housed in the new community center. We are having ongoing issues with the roof. We've spent much staff time and approaches in repairs and maintenance to fix the flat portion of the roof. We did get prices last year for roof repairs. This would be doing the entire flat roof portion. It's just over, I think, 2,000 square feet. I did get updated pricing, and they are still going to stick with last year's pricing of $35,000. I think $35,287. The library, we've been trying to buy our time because this building's going away. They are willing to contribute 50% of that $35,287. So it would require a budget amendment, and so therefore we are bringing it to this committee for thoughts.
Dennis, when you say the building's going away, do we know when it's going away?
No, we don't. And likely they're going to be in there another 3 or 4 years.
At least, okay.
And we can't have the roof continue to leak. So those that don't know the history of this building, it was once the post office. So the block portion was the actual post office. This back portion of the building was the carport where they loaded the mail carts. So it's not the best construction. It is what it is. And it was enclosed, and it's got this flat roof section that's been problematic for years. And we don't want to put any money in the building at all, but we can't let the roof leak and, when we're responsible for it. So
Yeah, I think we have to take care of the building and make sure that the contents are not rained on. And I see the delay more as the just, it's, we don't know when the community center will be available for them to move into, because we don't know when Kitsap Bank is building their building. So we have a lot of little steps that are delayed, and I think, yeah, we need to take care of it if it's going to be there for at least 3 to 4 years.
Yep, I agree.
And this is patching, or this is a full new roof?
This
Full
is
new
a
roof.
full new roof membrane.
On
For
the
the
flat
portion that's flat.
portion, on the back part. The other part has a pitched roof, and we replaced that about 8 to 10 years ago, but this section of the roof didn't get replaced.
Okay, I was sitting there thinking, well, that's actually not bad considering, carpet was 35,000. I thought we were doing the whole roof of the whole building, but it's just a section of it.
It's the back half of the building.
And the library's agreed to pay half of this.
They
Mhm.
proposed that they would pay half if we move forward with the repairs
When would this take place, Dennis?
within the next 60 days.
Hey, Dennis, what was the total cost estimate for that?
$35,287.
Okay,
And that was a quote. We've got to go out to bid.
We did get bids, and they honored their previous bid.
And really? And we can use that bid that long ago?
I believe so. But if I'll check with our purchasing policy and legal if needed, and if we cannot, we could get another bid for that amount or less.
Okay. I don't think it'd be less, but we can try.
Yeah, I think 17,000. Bring it to us. Let's do it.
Yeah.
and as Director Ryan noted, this will require a budget amendment because we did not budget for this.
Okay. Moving on, we've got, next up is the Marina Generators. And this looks like, Dennis, this is you again.
Yeah, so everybody's seen the generator, you know, and the color is not the best. That is a factory stock color. So we had from the beginning we discussed the green screen is not going to cover the entire thing, and it's going to take several years for that green screen with the vegetation to fill in. So there is an opportunity that we could do a graphic or a solid color wrap that would camouflage it in plain sight. I don't know if a decorative pattern would be the best bet, but we could definitely get a neutral color other than yellow or bright white that would aesthetically be pleasing for the people who are going to use the new plaza, the community event center. It won't be an eyesore. You see these a lot, like if you're like in a zoo or a green space area where they hide it in plain sight. The green screen, when I say that, that is going to be vegetated. So that green mesh that's around there, that is all for, it's a trellis, and there's going to be irrigation and planter beds below it. So we also have another generator at City Hall, if we want to consider that. That's yellow, I believe, is the color. And so the prices are varying still, but depending on how extensive we want to go, we're looking about $6,000 to $8,000 per location. And that is something that is not in the budget currently.
Janice, did you say 6 to 8 or did you say 68?
$6,000 to $8,000 a piece is the range.
Thank you. The transcription said 68,000.
No, not 68.
And we have money available left over in the City Hall project for the one at City Hall. I think it would be an appropriate use of that money, wouldn't it, Noah? And then I think we should have money available in the Marina Pump Station project also. I just don't know that we can use from a budget standpoint because we don't want to pay the contractor to do this and pay his markup. We want to do this, and so how do we navigate that?
And this is a you said completely vegetative.
No, what he's referring to, so on the Marina Pump Station, it's got vegetation that will grow up. That's going to take years. And this generator even sticks up a couple feet beyond that green vegetation. So we're proposing to put something that looks green or blue or something that will blend in to the space there as a vinyl wrap on the generator. And so that today it isn't this yellow color that came from the factory. And then in time, the vegetation's going to grow up and mask 90% of this thing, but it's going to take years for that to happen, a few years for sure.
My concern and question about the wrap would be, is it paintable? Because I'm concerned about vandalism.
It's in a locked, it's behind a locked enclosure.
Okay, so there would be no access virtually from the public to get to damaging that wrap?
Without climbing a very tall fence. No, the one at City Hall isn't in a secure location, but it is in the police parking lot. You know, I'm not saying criminals aren't stupid, but you have to be pretty stupid to go do vandalism, you know, outside the police department.
I think my only 2 cents, at least on the marina generator, I don't know that I have two at City Hall. I would like for it to somehow match the design of the community event center. Seeing the new black, whatever they're putting up on the Marina Pump Station this week, I was like, is that going to match? I haven't seen updated community event center stuff either, but I just want to make sure their proximity, it should feel like
Yeah.
one.
This
one
is
design.
quite a ways away from that over there. My thought is make it blend with the vegetation that's going to grow there. You know,
So paint it green.
Well,
somewhat, yeah, playing off of green, I think.
we're talking about the generator that's near Josephine's, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. You know, it's yellow. It's a generator. I wouldn't do anything with it. I wouldn't spend the money. I'm just not happy it's there, but I don't think, you know, painting it or disguising it is going to really improve anything. And you're right, there is a fence around it, and I did see plant starts on the ground, and I thought that'll be nice. It'll be a trellis someday, and I'm just glad that that project is done. I don't think, I would just vote not to do anything else to it, not spend any more money on decorating.
What type of fencing security fencing is around it? I haven't been down there.
Chain link.
Green cyclone.
No, it's actually like a 1-inch square wire, welded
That's
wire.
not the fence. That's the trellis. Then there's also the security
Oh.
fencing.
Yeah,
The trellis
didn't
is
take
like
a
a little
picture this morning.
square, it's metal. It's a metal trellis.
So there's no, is there an option to put those fillers into a like a chain link fence with the little green?
That would prohibit what's supposed to happen in the plant. We've got
Oh, the
we've got a
ventilation.
viney plant that grows up this trellis.
Oh, okay.
I should have taken a picture this morning.
So it's just about trying to get it to blend in better to the environment. And if you guys don't want to spend the money,
It's never gonna blend. It's just,
we can make it blend better than the yellow that's there.
For blending, but again, I just want to call out that whole area when the plaza and when everything comes to life, it should look one cohesive feel.
Yeah.
It's my 2 cents.
maybe deferred, decorating till then.
And
Yeah. The bank doesn't like. I'm just telling you, the bank doesn't like
Well,
it.
maybe they should do something about their building so it can match their new building. I have no incentive to make the bank happy about how the generator looks.
We should be. That's
Well,
not being a very good partner to somebody that's making a massive investment in our downtown.
But they're delaying it.
Because of us, Fred.
Yeah,
They aren't
not-
delaying anything. They're waiting on us. We got to build a road.
I think they should figure out how the road is. I'm sorry, it's an offline discussion. I just don't, I don't buy it. I don't think they need a delay for our road.
I wouldn't be opposed to looking to change the color to make it blend in more. I think that's something we should look at a little more deeply.
Okay, we'll bring back. Well, actually, we'll take it to. We'll get quotes for the actual product and a concept of what it looked like, and then bring it to the full council then. Yeah, but provided it doesn't exceed that $8,000, the 6 to 8, as long as it doesn't exceed that, then we'll bring it forward to the full council. If it exceeds that, then we'll bring it. We'll talk more to you about it then. But we need some concepts, Dennis,
okay.
and a firm quote to take it to the full city council.
Okay.
And then did we have consensus on the city hall project?
It's kind of the same thing. I mean,
Okay,
I think we
I'll
should
get
make
samples.
it not look like a generator the best we can.
All right.
Okay, Dennis, you are up next with the Annapolis Creek Culvert Grant.
All right. So this one, before I start talking about it, are they familiar where we're talking about when we say the Annapolis Creek Culvert? This is very close to where the soon to be demolished old aquarium building is. We have a wood retaining wall that holds up that portion of Bay Street. And there's actually a wooden constructed box culvert. So it's considered a wood bridge that crosses the road, and it does a 45-degree angle in the parking lot of the mini storage. And so it is a identified fish barrier, and it's also nearing the end of its useful life. So the city had applied for a few years ago, and it was put on hold, but a RCO grant for $425,000 for design, taking it from the 30% to 100%. We have previously done a 30% design. This grant does require I believe it's a $75,000 match by the city. And my recollection, understanding, and Director Bond might be able to chime into, or Noah, Director Crocker, sorry. I believe that this is something that could be phased over the next couple years. It doesn't have to happen immediately.
Yeah,
But
I
it-
believe
it's
the
a good
plan
read.
was from Chris and then transportation. I think we took this to transportation committee too, but the plan was to
Right.
do this in potentially 2026. And I know you guys won't recall, but this was part of our biennial budget discussion, and we placed it on the mid-biennial review pending the results of the grant application. So this was already discussed. We already talked about moving forward with this in the mid-biennial review. We just got the grant results. So now we're at the point of accepting the grant. And we just want to communicate that in accepting the grant, we are obligating ourselves to additional $75,000 of local match, which we'll use the storm capital dollars to pay for. But we'd like to accept the grant so we secure that and then move forward when the timing's right.
And I'd also add that this is a priority on our CIP plan for stormwater, identified in our plan.
Storm fund's healthy.
The storm fund is getting healthier. Yes, if you recall, last year we adopted storm rates, so we're actually seeing the storm fund actually starting to cover itself and looking healthy, and the CFCs are definitely helping. So that'll be great.
Yeah,
Yeah. I'm for this.
this
Uh,
design and any project to build it are going to be contingent on grants. I
I was
mean,
gonna say, are we gonna need to go find construction dollars too?
yeah, we will. But you don't compete well until you have your design and you know what's going to cost.
So Dennis, you mentioned 90-degree or somewhere around that degree of an angle there at the storage facility property. Does this take that all the way to that 90-degree section, the rebuild?
Yes, I could pull up a Google Earth imagery real quick. It does replace it to the headwaters. I guess where the inlet of the culvert is. If you bear with me for 1 second here.
So it's
There's
across
an
from the
iter-
proper.
There was an iteration at this at one point where the mini storage went away and the estuary got restored, but that's in county. That's in the county, and it's not. I mean, we have an obligation to fix our road.
Right.
You know,
Yeah, I'm for this project. I just think I'm curious as to how far across and up it would go.
So, Noah, can I share my screen?
Yes,
I'm not seeing the option to.
it's at the very bottom of your Zoom menu bar.
There we go. All right, can everybody see this right here?
not yet. There we go.
Yes.
There we go.
And if you can see my cursor right here, the current alignment is something like this, where it comes this way and then it shoots over like that. It's like a 45 to 90-degree angle. So what you would see is that, and this is all that wood retaining wall right here. And then what you would see is you would see a new alignment that would realign directly across from this inlet over here, right here, without no natural barrier restriction. And this is a former estuary, so there's the opportunity for conservation estuary work as well.
What would happen with the rest of that retaining wall that's currently there?
So to this point here, it was redone. The mayor will probably be able to explain better, but it was redone with a concrete
Yeah.
cantilever right here. So this has all been done. So we are looking, so this would need to be reinforced done once this is gone. That's years down the road. And so the portion here would have to be some restoration here too, which we'll look at the design for part of this project.
That was a complex project because there's a very large sewer force main in the middle of that road. And so there were helical screws put on the shore on the other side of the road. And then these concrete arms that went over the top of our sewer line is the tie back to the wall. So that's what held the wall up because of it'll be a fairly expensive project because of our sewer line force main being in the middle of that road. Just,
When we give them scope for design, is it that, I mean, it's a pretty heavily trafficked road. Is it that they can design it with the anticipation of trying to not completely close that road?
So
We have-
there'll be some closures. This is a box culvert, which is considered a bridge, and it's going to be substantial size. So just like the I-5 fish passage that you're seeing, many of these come precast, so they'll be able to drop them in like in sections. So I would anticipate that you would probably see some sort of shift of the road traffic, and they would just have to be controlled with flaggers. There's other opportunities too, like portable traffic light signals, which this is just two-way direction. This isn't an intersection, so this isn't going to be real tough if that's something that we did, but it could be metered with portable signals. That wouldn't come out of the design. That would be something that we did as when we went out to contract for the work.
Okay.
And then there's also detour opportunities. So
just going around it there.
yep, you could go around. So access isn't too bad. There's
Yeah.
other alternatives.
It'll save us. We've really got to detour traffic around this because it'll save us a
Fine.
ton of money.
I didn't even know you could go up and around like that. So,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I'm okay with that. Just as long as we're not completely turning off traffic from that.
Yeah.
area.
We did for a little while when we constructed that other section of the roadway. It's unavoidable. You know,
I would because this is original wooden construction, so this is a wooden bridge in Port Orchard, so that it is a priority.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
yeah, because when it collapses, it'll close the road too.
I'm gonna stop sharing.
Yeah, so just to steer us back, so we have the grant coming forward. We would look to the finance committee to support it, the initiative when it comes forward on Tuesday.
Yeah. And that gets us to 100% design. And then when we get to that point, we'll start pursuing construction funding.
So then moving on, the next topic is the Kitsap Community Resources Agreement. Mayor, I don't know if you'd like to talk about this.
Sure. This is a rental assistance. There's federal standards to what, and off the top of my head, I don't know what they are, for what for folks who qualify related to the median income, and it provides up to $2,000 to any one household. We've had a previous agreement with KCR a few years back. They didn't perform on it, and so as a result, I've asked NOAA to put a cap, so we're not pledging all of our, dollars to this entity. So $30,000. If they perform and deploy this $30,000, I'd like to come back and put more dollars into this bucket of dollars. I'm also had some conversations on a sidebar here with Andrew Kane. I'd love to have us put some dollars into a Mike house too. So this is just providing rental subsidies, so Dennis is living in a low-income housing, probably, or maybe not, but he qualifies from an income standpoint for this dollars. His car breaks down and he needs some assistance, and so he used his rent money to pay for that car repair, and now he's behind on his rent, and so it's to help somebody out that came into unexpected expenses and has fallen behind on their rent to get them caught up.
Yeah, I think the mayor did a good job describing the program. Again, the contract details, we've included the agreement in this packet. The agreement is intended to come before the council on Tuesday night. Mr. Ives would also like to attend. So if there are specific questions about the program, I could invite him. I was going to check with you guys all. So if you'd like him to attend, it's on the business, I believe, agenda item. So Mayor, would you like me to have Mr. Ives attend?
It's up to you guys. I mean, it's a public meeting. I mean, I don't think we need to ask him any questions, but if wouldn't hurt for him to be there. It's up to him.
I think my only question on this one, this is all reimbursement to KCR, correct? That they're front loading this. We're not handing them the $30,000 and say, go do our project.
Correct. Yeah, they run the program and then they would administer us, submit us invoices and the proper documentation to demonstrate how the program's operating and that they identified as, a citizen within Port Orchard that needed this rental assistance and the reasons why. And so there's a whole program of documentation that they have to submit to
Okay,
us.
yeah, I thought I read in the contract under B, I think it was B2 or something like that, where they had to reach out to us when they have a qualified applicant and say, make sure that there are funds available. I know
Well,
through some
There's
of my
30,000
conversations.
available. They don't have to do
between-
that.
What's that?
They don't have to reach out. They're charged with helping folks within the city of Port Orchard, providing the proper documentation and get reimbursement. We're providing a bucket of $30,000 for them to do this activity with.
Okay. I think there's I could have swore I read somewhere in that contract that they have to reach out to us. I just want to make sure. I have heard in some of my conversations, and I have concerns about the financial stability of KCR. And so I just want to make sure that that is
We're
mitigated.
not going to be involved in their screening process.
No, and I don't want to be part of their screening process. I just want to make sure the actual dollars are working the way they're supposed to anyhow.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I think you're both saying the same thing. We have a cap of 30,000, but they will have to provide us documentation as each person comes in. And again, we have a cap per household, which is $2,000.
Yeah.
So if only one person comes into the program and it's for a couple $100, that's how that works. So we are not front loading the 30 grand, nor are we front loading 2,000 per household. So they will have to demonstrate as they come into the program.
Thank you.
The only comment I would add is that part of the reason that their first contract in 2019 was not used was they had a lot of money for COVID, which was easier for them to administer because it was anywhere in the county and not geographically limited like our funds were. But also our original contract had more conditions on the types of clients that it was going to be offered to. For example, I think it was only being offered to veterans or people over a certain age. So those conditions are not in the current contract. And they are expecting to be able to deploy it or use it very quickly because they were talking about the number of people that they have in need through the county, like 137. They're estimating that at least maybe 10% of that would be in the city of Port Orchard.
I hope so.
Right. Yeah. And Councilor Manger is correct on all those points. So good points. Okay, moving on to the next topic, ERR vehicle modification. If Dennis is still on here, he can talk about that. Otherwise, I will lead us through that. Maybe I'll start with so as a part of the budget process, we did budget the replacement of a truck for facilities. We have since hired a great facilities public works employee, and then we've had discussions about what type of replacement vehicle would best equip him to do the needs of the facilities. And so we've identified some additional costs, roughly $9,000 of additional need to outfit the truck, which is and put in a canopy on, a ladder rack, and a bed slide for the tools to be pulled out easier for him. So he doesn't have to climb in the back of the truck. He can slide the tools out. So we worked really closely with the Public Works and the facility team to identify the right truck for the facilities department. And again, I don't think we've had that in the past. So this is a good thing, another step forward that the city's taken to properly identify the vehicle and the needs of the employees. And Mr. Ryan, I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
Sorry, no, I was just trying to multitask with another phone call.
It's
Yeah,
fine.
so this is also efficiencies. This is we're becoming much more proactive. This council and mayor added an additional parks facility position that went into the budget last year. It was for parks. It's freeing us up to more prioritize our facilities. The economies of efficiency are we will be able to have rolling stock. We have to make a lot of side trips to the hardware stores and supply warehouses because we don't have the capacity to keep things in the truck. So this will be a rolling inventory warehouse in this truck.
So we are bringing forward as a part of the ERR fund, the modification for and the purchase order to order the vehicles next week. Again, looking to the finance committee to kind of support the ERR purchases and the purchase orders coming forward. And the Councilmember Morrissey, this is kind of in line with what we discussed at the last council meeting, how although we've already budgeted these items, because it's over our procurement policy of 35,000, we have to bring it back for an additional approval prior to ordering.
So, and to clarify my comments around that, and you know, when we're giving that, because I know Ms. Archer's not here today, the $9,000 difference is what I would expect to come back to council to approve. But had you just needed to spend the 59, I think that should be easier. So,
Yeah, I think that's what I took away from your comments last week as well.
yeah, and I'm for this one. I'm good with it.
I'll also add, Mrs. Archer has already reached out to our procurement specialist, and we're going to work on that revision.
So I do have a question, Dennis, with the, is there any plans to put any bin storage in this rig? Because with the rollout type of a bed on it, that's going to make that very difficult.
So I believe, I don't know the exact rollout. I looked it up on the state contract. So there's rollouts that have totes and trays that can be retrofitted into them. So you pull everything out, and there'll be organizers.
So is that part of this additional $9,000, or will that have to come back to us again?
It might have to come out of the operating budget. I think we did something similar for the mechanics van, and it was like, I believe like $500 for the organizational trays and totes.
We won't bring it back. It'll be within operating budgets to put whatever widgets we need to put in it.
Yeah, this is really for the capital asset itself, the truck and all the pieces of the truck. I think what really we're talking about, the different tools and stuff that the facilities person would need, including totes and other things to lock and secure his tools.
All right, thanks.
Okay, if no other questions, we can move on. I believe, did I make it? I made it. I finally made it to the budget amendment. And it's 11 o'clock, so I apologize. I'll be brief because we are going to come back to this. As you've heard, there's been several kind of conversations about things that would impact the budget just in today's conversation that have not been folded into my proposed amendment for the first amendment of the year. Again, these are things I've just kind of come up with the last 2 weeks. So I'm not completely prepared to go with the budget amendment next week like I had planned. So I'm targeting now end of June, which means I'll bring this back to the finance committee and probably the full council at a work study session just to talk about. But I do want to highlight a couple of the main ones which I'd really originally had anticipated, which to amend the budget to adjust for beginning fund balance, moving it to actuals, providing additional funding for the Gibbons Park project. We're moving forward with that now. I think we have the time over the next month to kind of continue and proceed forward before that budget amendment would be required. And then providing similarly for Marina Pump Station, a budget amendment to kind of get the funding in alignment. I have in here adjust allocation for ERR purchases. That's some modification stuff just with the facilities trucks that we talked about, as well as the John Deere purchase that we talked about last week. So I'm modifying within the ER&R. So those two are really cleanup items and just to provide some funding for the Gibbons Park and the Marina, and then truing up our beginning fund balances so we can have a real good look when we get to mid-biennial review, the total resources available. And at that time, we'll talk about all of the additional needs and requests.
And just to be mindful, there's no work study in June. It's 2 business meetings. So don't plan for a work study to present something.
Yeah, so I'm targeting the second meeting, Mayor. And so we'll have it as a discussion presentation meeting. Okay, I'll have to think on that a little bit more. But I did include the highlights here. Oh, kind of went over that real quick. There's some accounting / nuancy things I'm proposing. So I just want to cover a couple of these. Because the City Hall project is coming in under budget, we still have additional bond proceeds that need to be spent. So I am proposing to reduce what we had originally planned to use as general fund and park impact fee funds for the Gibbons Park project and replacing that with bond proceeds. I think that's a good move and a good use of our bond proceeds. It also preserves some of our park impact fee money for the community event center and those things, as well as preserves our general fund. So I think that's a smart move with our bond proceeds. We did get our construction bid, so I do need to increase what we had originally planned in the budget for additional construction costs. And at the same time, design was really completed more in 2024. So we had budgeted it to carry over. So I'm just kind of doing some tinkering with that to make sure that the costs are aligning in the right fiscal year. Marina Pump Station, we have spent all the loan proceeds now. Again, we had some large invoices and reimbursement requests come in at the end of 2024. So now I'm cleaning up that funding source, reducing loan proceeds in 2025. But we do need additional funding from our operations and capital to complete the project. Everything is still within the overall project budget. It's just a matter of the funding sources and the timing and the budget authority that we originally had built into the budget. So again, I'd call it more of a truing up to the project and where we're at in it right now.
And it's not that we took less in loan proceeds. It was just the timing of the loan draws. They happened in 2024 and not in 2025.
Correct. And from a project standpoint, we'd always planned on spending sewer operating money and sewer capital money as a contribution to cover the gap between the loan proceeds and the total cost of the project. So nothing new there. It's just a request for the actual authority to spend those dollars. And then we talked about the modifications to the truck as well as the backhoe. And here I just kind of identify how we intended on paying for these modifications as well as the backhoe. So the flatbed truck came in roughly $20,000 less than we budgeted, which is fantastic. So we're just going to reallocate those dollars to the backhoe, and then beginning fund balance for the Public Works Department, Water Division. Once I true that up, will provide me roughly $10,000 of additional beginning fund balance. So I'm going to use fund balance to cover that $8,000 of additional need there. And I see Council Member Chang had just popped out, but he did mention that he had a hard stop at 11. So I appreciate him staying on as long as he could. So there will be other items. Actually, and let me go for this in case you want to see this on your own. I'm providing the income statement summary. And so from here, you can see at the top total where we begin the biennial budget, the adjustments currently have built in, which is on that summary table, as well as what I'd say truing up of the counting adjustments. These aren't, from a high level perspective, impactful, but it's more mechanical, if you will. I have to have transfers going in, transfers going out, so that impacts my revenues and expenses. So the numbers don't always necessarily tie exactly to the overall big picture because of the accounting transactions that I have to make in order to make all these things happen. But you'll see here, this is the one I really want to point out: $28 million, $29 million roughly of additional funds coming in for the biennial budget. So we'll talk about this more in the coming weeks, and then squarely during the biennial process, because we can talk about how we intend to use those and what other spending activities you might be interested in. So that's positive news on fund balance. Again, you'll see here ending fund balance. I currently have it just a flow through, meaning I'm not spending in it. It's coming in, doing some of the adjustments that we just talked about, and then we're ending roughly with additional, the same additional balance.
And before we get too excited, I'll just run quickly through our laundry list of things that we need to put money into, like the Bay Street reconstruction, the Intertie project, the water tower, the Bay Street Path, the Community Center Plaza, and of course Bethel Phase 1. So there will be money to put to some new things, but we've got to make sure that we prioritize things we've already committed to too.
Yep. I appreciate that, Mayor. So if you go through here, you can see beginning fund balance, and I have it identified by fund, the biennial budget and the adjustments. So you should be able to see the beginning fund balance change for each of the funds, general fund, street fund. So you can go through here on your own. You'll see there some of these won't have any changes in revenue expenses, just because again, I've only hit on a couple so far: Givens Park, Marina. These other funds, I've not planned on any additional revenue or expenses. I'm just bringing in the fund balance. So you can see dollar for dollar change in the beginning and ending fund balances of the biennial budget there. And so over the next couple of weeks, again, as we continue to identify things like the library that just came up, so I would fold that into my next budget proposal. Any other kind of project needs that come up over the next couple of weeks, I'll bring that forward as well. We are out to bid with our Bay Street project. No, what we Sydney non-motorized. Sydney non-motorized
Where's
is
Yes.
the one we're out to bid right now. So that is one project. We'll have to watch closely on the bids. I'm certain we'll need to adjust the budget because again, there was an estimate when we put it in. I'm not sure if we captured it correctly, but that's one I would anticipate a budget amendment to be required to move forward with that project. Regardless if the bids are good or bad, just just due to timing and what we anticipated. So this is what I have for you now to hand out. If there's more detail, more conversation, we can have at the next finance committee because we're kind of running 10 minutes late here. Is there anything, I guess maybe I'll ask the question, is there anything you'd like me to cover more in depth with the budget amendments next time?
Not at this point for me,
Okay.
but once I review this, I'm sure I'll have some questions.
Okay, yeah, I appreciate any feedback that you can give. Again, I want the whole council kind of follow along as we amend the budget and to understand what we're doing, what we're proposing. At this point, again, it's the first of the year. It's not a significant budget amendment. It's really a true up balances and capture a few of the things that happened. The more impactful budget amendment process will be the mid-biennial review.
All right, John, do you have anything for the good of the order there on that one?
I do. Thank you.
All right. Well, it's 11:10. We are 10 minutes short, or 10 minutes running 10 minutes late here. If there's nothing else, let's go ahead and adjourn this meeting. Our next meeting I have booked for June 17th. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct right now. And so we, if I'm correct, Mayor, we have two regular council meetings in June, the 10th and the 17th.
That's correct.
Okay, so what I was planning for the next finance committee was to again review any budget amendments. Again, the plan would be now that's a set. Now that will be a regular council meeting. I think we'll have a presentation discussion first, and then I would bring forward the budget amendment later in that meeting in the business action items.
Okay.
The only person we haven't heard from today is the Deputy Director, Rebecca Zick. What do you have to add?
I just am here for support. No. So I was just here for questions, but no, it did a great
How are
job.
things going with the audit?
We
We-
closed our 2024 or 2023, sorry, fiscal year audit, and then we are going to be filing our 2024 financial statements by the deadline of May 30th. So that's kind of on our finance office radar at this time. So then we'll bring those back and provide those to you guys at that time too.
Yes, because once we file that annual report, then that's usually the trigger that the auditors come visit us.
Yes. And this year, if you'll recall, we did not trigger the threshold for a federal single audit. So they may be a little bit slower to come to us, kind of like last year where it kind of trailed into the end of the year. So I would kind of expect that this year, but we'll see. It's always up to their schedules and what they have out there.
Hey, Rebecca, I do have a question for you.
Sure.
Did you ever figure out how to turn that transcribing thing off that Noah did earlier?
I believe we did it in the settings, but yet it's still happening. So not entirely, no.
I don't have any going on my screen.
Oh, it is capturing. If you hit the transcript button at the bottom, you'll see the transcript on the right column will populate for you.
I don't have a transcript on the bottom.
Do you
I'm
have
not
a
sure how to do
more?
it, Noah, because
I do have
you
a
can't-
more.
I don't know how to turn it
Ah,
If you
off.
click
more in
that.
the transcript. Okay. Okay. More in transcript. There you go.
Yeah, I chose not to turn it on.
Yeah. Me too.
Well, I had a nice conversation with the clerk's office and they told me about this feature that was used at the council meeting. I was transcribed the notes and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I'll try that. I need some more training, clearly. I could turn it off. So
So we are still transcribing, but we're no longer recording, is that correct?
no, we're still recording until you adjourn. Are we ready to adjourn?
Oh, I thought I had already adjourned, so let's go ahead and adjourn this meeting for today. and we'll see everybody here at the next council meeting.
Yep. See you next week, or if I don't see you on Sunday.